going to the studio, having a reason to kind of force myself out of bed in the morning helped me tremendously, because there were days where I was like, I can't even move.
Madison Beer is a 23-year-old singer-songwriter. She's put out 2 successful albums between 2018 and 2021. And in 2021, her album Life Support was number 1 on the iTunes pop charts and number 2 overall. So you've spoken a lot publicly, have been really transparent and honest with your audience about your mental health struggles. And I know that it's also a hard thing for people to reach out for help. And so can you tell me a little bit about how you decided to reach out for help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the first step for me was admitting that I was struggling. I think that I kind of pretended like everything was fine for a long time and that it was kind of just something I wrote off. The final straw for me was I was like severely triggered by something that I think most people would find silly. I was like, I really want to try, at least try to put in the work to allow myself to not be held and anchored by this, trigger or trauma. And not that it's gone now, but it's definitely a lot better. And it's something that I can also discuss openly. Whereas before, I think that it was something that I would be embarrassed of. I think that like as a society and as human beings, we've been told to like kind of hide our like demons per se and our dark things, like keep them in the closet. Whereas I personally think that that's completely wrong. And I think that it's important we discuss how much people go through, how much being a human being, just it's a really crazy concept, and we all get thrown a lot of things, and I think that everyone has their own trauma, and I think working through it is really important to your growth, and really important to just like becoming that version of yourself that isn't held down by those things.
You have like such an incredible album about like your mental health experiences and various personal experiences. I've had it on repeat like for the longest time. And there was this one live that I found to be really impactful. And in the live, you said creating your album saved your life. And I thought that quote was really important. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I do genuinely believe it saved my life in a lot of ways. There were plenty of days I would go into the studio with my producers, and I work with a really curated crew of people, and it's the same people who I've been working with for years, and I rarely bring on new people, so I'm super comfortable with them, and they're truly like my close friends. And having those people in my life really did save me from some really dark days and some really dark times, and not that I didn't have them, but they made them a lot better. And also like being able to turn these like 6-hour rants I would go on into a song was so special, and it really made me feel like my emotions. And then, by the way, on top of it, then having the songs translate to people and having people love them and listen to them and sing them and tell me that they impacted them. That's like, I can't even describe how that feels when you are struggling so much mentally and then you write a song about it and then you decide, okay, maybe I can release this, and then people love it. You're like, oh my gosh. So it was great.
To go back a little bit to like support, whether it be like people or an album or art or what, obviously it's different for everyone, but I just noticed the theme of finding something to hold on to for like almost like literal survival. And so like, what do you think the importance of finding that thing to hold on to?
Absolutely. I think that we all need a life raft when we're drowning. I think that that's like not something to be ashamed of at all. Not only is it okay, but I encourage people to create a support system around them, create healthy coping mechanisms, figure out what works for you. That doesn't make you weak at all. Just because you need help or you want help it's actually a sign of strength and vulnerability, which I always say that like people who are able to be vulnerable with one another and open up, I think are the strongest people in the world.
I love that. And I'm genuinely so happy that you had your music and your album to get you through those rough times. To your point about like asking for help and needing help and struggling a little bit doesn't make you weak. And in fact, I feel like
it makes you human. It makes you literally human.
Yeah. I just feel like also with your album, one thing that stuck out to me is that like it speaks so closely to the experience of someone like going through all these things for the first time. Your song Effortlessly about you being on medication for the first time is absolutely amazing. Do you have any advice for young people that are experiencing these things?
You know, it's okay to be intimidated by it, and it's okay to be scared and unsure. I know that I was. I think that the line in Effortlessly about medication was more so saying that I think I had a lot of resentment towards the pharmaceutical industry, or like just being medicated in general, because I was like, how are you gonna reduce all the things I've been through and like my traumas literally into a little pill? And that was like that, you know, opening line where I'm like, here's a little pill, here's a little fix it all. I'm like, how am I going to take this like tiny little pill, and it's supposed to like erase and remove all of my, you know, things that I've dealt with my whole life. And I have now come to a place where I'm like, that's not its purpose. It's to just kind of help you and whatnot. It all depends on who you are. But for me, I knew I needed to do like really serious soul healing, inner child work. And there's no pill for that.
I think that a part of your mental health journey is like knowing and learning how to handle a bad moment when it comes on, and learning how to like be able to leap over it.
I think we're all always recovering. I think I'll be recovering for the rest of my life. You know, things will come up and there's going to be hard days. And, you know, I always say that like flowers wouldn't grow if the sun was always shining. And that's something that's like, I think really true. When I'm spiraling and when I'm like, oh my God, am I getting back to this dark place? I'm kind of trying to remind myself like, no, you're still a person at the end of the day. It can be really overwhelming when you feel really healed from something or moved on, and then down the line you get reminded of it in some way, and you're like, wait, that affected me so much more than I thought it would. Am I not moved on? Am I not healed from that? And I'm like, I want to emphasize that does not mean that you haven't made, you know, huge amounts of progress. It doesn't mean that you're weak, and it's okay if things from your past that you think you've been healed from come up and affect you still.
Through your experience, how has it changed your view on mental health?
You know, it is something that unfortunately has a stigma. I think the stigma is starting to fade a lot, but it's changed, I think, the most drastically in the simplicity of like, it is a forever thing. It's not just, oh, you know, I'm, you know, feeling like this today and I'll feel like this tomorrow. It's like every day comes new things, and I think that you have to be patient with yourself. And I think boundaries, I like always, whenever I get asked anything about mental health, boundaries have been my like biggest anchor for my well-being. Like, I think as women specifically, we get kind of told from a young age that like, if you set boundaries, basically you're like obnoxious, or that you're like a diva, or whatever it might be, when in reality it's a form of self-care. And that's how I truly look at it.
If you could go back to your younger self and talk to yourself about mental health, what would you say?
I really always go back to like who I am today and who I feel like I'm becoming more and more throughout my life. I think that I wouldn't really say much. I think I would give her a really big hug, and I would let her know that she's going to make it out just fine, and there's going to be some tough years ahead, but like, you know, she's a strong kid. She's going to be proud to have grown into my shoes, I think. And I think that if she were to see me now, she would be very, very proud of the person that I've become.
I just wanted to say thank you so much again. Good luck with everything.
You're so sweet. It was really, really lovely talking to you and meeting you. It makes me really happy to see people, you know, our age discussing these things and caring so much. So thank you for what you do for the mental health community as well. It means a lot to me, seriously.
Thank you so much.
Of course.